Welcome back to the studio. That last session was a fascinating look into how ideas become discoveries. Absolutely amazing. Next up, we have a special IA Network News exclusive with NASA Associate Administrator for Aeronautics, Bob Pearce. Bob, welcome to Imagine Aviation. Over to you.
Thanks, Steve. It's my pleasure to be here at Imagine Aviation for the fourth time. However, it's the first time that I'm sitting down with such a young aeronautics leader, Mia Anderson, the founder of her own nonprofit, Air Ambition, and a private pilot licensed in both gliders and airplanes. She's also a graduating senior in high school. Mia, welcome to NASA and Imagine Aviation.
Thank you. I really appreciate this amazing opportunity.
Oh, we're glad to have you. So tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today and to Air Ambition.
Yes, my family is involved in aviation and they've always been a part of just what I love and who I am. And I have two great-grandfathers who were private pilots. My grandmother and her twin sister were flight attendants, and my dad is captain for Southwest and my mom is also a flight attendant for Southwest. So it's definitely in my blood, and it's just something that I've fallen in love with at a young age. And I love it so much.
So so when did you become a pilot?
So I started flying when I was 13 years old. I took my first discovery flight when I was 13. And I was trying to figure out a way to not wait 3 years to solo in an airplane, because you have to be 16 to solo an airplane and 17 to get your license. But I found out that gliders, you can actually solo when you're 14 years old and get your license when you're 16. So I started flying gliders, and I thought it was just going to be something to bridge the gap between being so young and just wanting to fly. But I realized that it's something that I'm really passionate about.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about Air Ambition. What is it exactly?
Air Ambition started a year ago, and I was able to start it through the Core Foundation, and I was awarded their Community Hero Award. And they're kind of a umbrella organization that helps nonprofits get started. So they saw all of the work that I was doing in the aviation community with volunteering with Women in Aviation, the Experimental Aircraft Association, and several other organizations. And they gave me the opportunity to start my own nonprofit. Wow. Doing what I love. And I started Air Ambition to inspire, mentor, and educate the next generation of aviators.
Wow. I wouldn't even ask you how you find the time to do all that while going to school, but that's pretty amazing. So you have this foundation. You're there to inspire and mentor the next generation. Tell me about it. You got a couple stories? Like, how's that going? Like, what are you finding now that you're doing this? What kind of reaction are you getting?
So some of the stuff that I do with Air Ambition is I go to schools, I talk to Girl Scout troops, and I just do a lot in the community to try and give more information about the aviation community and show that it's something that is attainable and that people can do. Mm-hmm. And so some of the stuff that I've been able to do is I'm currently a EAA Young Eagles pilot and a STEM Flights pilot mentor. So I take kids on discovery flights, and free of charge, so they don't have to pay anything. I tell them about the aircraft and they learn a little bit, and then I take them flying. And one of my favorite things that happened during a flight was we took off and this kid just lit up. He was like, "Oh, we're flying," because he had never been in a small airplane. Yeah. And it was just something that he had told me that he had been wanting to do for a long time. And I was just so excited that I was able to provide that opportunity for him.
That's wonderful. I mean, just that not just what you're doing, but the taking kids out, showing them, right? Not just talking about it, but the opportunity to actually get up, fly, show them, and through that you get that excitement, you get that adrenaline. I'm sure just like you did, right? When you first started doing it, that excitement that carries you on. So you found your passion. Hopefully, you're helping others find passion as well for something like this. That's really
exactly
really amazing. Yeah. So where do you see Air Ambition going? So actually, first talk about your future. So where are you going to go from here? And then we'll get back to Air Ambition a little bit. So what's next?
So currently I'm looking at a few of the pilot pathway programs, specifically the one with Southwest. It's called Destination 225, and it takes a high school you can be a high school graduate with no experience with flying at all, and they take you to working at Southwest in as little as 4 years. And so I really feel like that's a program that was meant for me, and I'm really excited about that. So hopefully I get accepted, and I'll start my journey with them.
Awesome, awesome. And you'll take Air Ambition with you?
Yes, I hope to. I hope to bring it down to Pensacola. Hopefully, if I get in, that's where I'll be moving to do my flight training. And I'd love to continue taking kids flying, and then creating events for people to come in and learn about aviation.
Okay. So, I'm sure to get where you are and the things you've done and the vision you have, you must have stumbled a few times. You must have had a few times when things didn't go quite the way you imagined them. So how'd you work your way through that? Well, do you remember any times when that may have happened, and how'd you work your way through that?
Yes, definitely. For those who don't know, to get your pilot's license, you have to take a written. And my very first written ever that I was going to take was for my glider written. And so I went in, I was not super confident, but I knew the material. And so I went in, I took the test, and I didn't pass it. I was one question away from passing it. And that just made me feel like such a failure. And I had never heard anybody else talk about failure, and I had never heard them say that they had failed a written. So I felt like I was the only one in that situation, and it broke my heart. And so I did lose a lot of motivation at that time. But eventually my parents, my flight instructors, my community at the airport, they helped me get through that, and they helped me realize, it's funny, a lot of people told me that they had not passed several writtens. And so I started to realize that I wasn't the only one in that situation, and that failure is natural. And I tell the kids that I mentor, you have to fail to learn, but you can't let your failure define you.
Exactly.
So in that moment, I let my failure define me, and I let it set me back a few months for my glider training. But eventually I got over that, and it was just, I am where I am now. And I always tell them that you have to overcome those failures.
Well, I think that's a really important life lesson for all of us, and sometimes we have to relearn it along the way. None of us like to fail, but failing is the way we mostly learn, right?
Yes.
If you get everything right, you're not really learning. It's only when you're failing and you have to go back and rework things that you really learn. And I think the other thing that you said, which it really strikes me, is that, you've got to have the passion, that kind of keeps you focused on your North Star. But then you talk about the people around you, right? That your parents, your flight instructor, others around you that form that community for you, because we don't do anything alone, right? We do it with others. And I think that's part of that really important learning, to say, hey, we're in this, there's a community around us there. We're in this together. So it's not just about me. It's about everybody that is part of your life and part of your path to the future. So it's great that, you're learning those lessons early. And I think that's something then you can pass on to the kids in Air Ambition. So that's really good. That's really good. I think you're also, as you become, as you go down this path and looking to become a pilot and not that you already are a pilot, but a commercial pilot, and everything that goes with that, a lot of responsibility that goes with those things, a lot of leadership and so forth. So what are you learning about leadership and how you handle yourself, and as well as how you, again, bring others with you?
Something that has really taught me a lot about leadership is both aviation and NJROTC. So I'm in my high school NJROTC unit.
Of course you are.
And I am a class leader for the juniors. And so I'm there, I'm teaching those cadets how to be an effective leader and how to be a good leader. And so I'm there, I'm helping them with the physical training and with the academics and teaching them to really be a leader for their team. They're all split up into different teams, and for each exercise, we'll pick a different cadet to be the leader. And so we can kind of see who is better at it than a few of the other cadets, but at the end of the year, they all end up being so much better than they were the year before, or even at the beginning of the year. And another thing is aviation. You know, you have to be a leader in the cockpit. If an emergency happens, you have to take the initiative to take care of it so that you live and that your passengers live and that everything goes safely.
And I know that you've had some opportunity, actually, speaking of that, to learn a little bit about accident investigation and so forth. So that's really interesting that, you know, you're learning to fly, but you're also learning about what happens if things don't go exactly right, and the importance, again, that leadership, the importance of this training, the skill, the discipline, and so forth that goes with something like flying. But tell me about that. Where does that fit in the? Is that something you would also like to pursue? How does that fit in?
Yes, I always said that if I couldn't fly, if something were to happen to me, like I lost my eyesight or my eyesight went bad, I would try and become an NTSB investigator. My primary glider instructor, she is an amazing woman, and she is an NTSB investigator. And so I spent a lot of time around her and seeing the projects that she's working on. And I actually picked up a project of my own. My great-grandfather, unfortunately, crashed his private airplane in 1948. And there's very little information on it, and we don't know where the crash site is, and there's a lot of spotty information.
Wow.
So the past few months, I've been really digging into it, and so it's something that I enjoy, trying to find all that information. And one day I may end up at the NTSB, but hopefully right now I stay with piloting.
But what's it take to become an accident investigator?
So I'm not entirely sure the path, but I believe you have to have a degree in aviation safety.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. So I can't imagine you're just gonna, go down there and take additional pilot training and so forth. So what else? And you're bringing Air Ambition with you. Are you going to do other education and training while you're at the same time, or? So
something that I've been kind of considering for my path, and this might not relate to everybody, but for me specifically, I know that college education is quite expensive, and so is flight training. And so if I were to get into a program like Destination 225, I would go through the program, get all of my pilot certificates, and then hopefully get a job at the airlines. And then after I'm at the airlines, I would love to do an online degree. And I would try and major in aviation safety and minor in aviation meteorology. So I have that backup plan if something were to happen to me where I couldn't fly.
Well, it's be great knowledge and education to have even as a pilot.
Yes, exactly.
Part of the aviation community and so forth. So that's really great. So in addition, how do you, what would you, at this point, what would you communicate to others, and what do you communicate? But, what have you learned about this, following your passion and taking those risks that you've taken and so forth? What would you tell others about how to do that for themselves?
So something I really advocate for is I tell kids to soar to their dreams. And SOAR stands for seek opportunities, overcome obstacles, act courageously, and reach for the stars. So that's kind of an acronym that I tell them all. And seeking opportunities, looking out for scholarships that they can apply for to fund their flight training or fund whatever they love. And then overcoming obstacles. Like I said, my glider written that I didn't pass, that was an obstacle that I had to overcome. And it was hard, but I did it. And now I'm where I am today. And then acting courageously. You can't be scared. You have to be brave about what you love. And if you're passionate about it, it's going to be easy because you love it and that's all you want to do. And then reach for the stars. I know a lot of people say the sky's the limit, but I mean, we're here at NASA.
We're here at NASA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I always say dream big and just dream big.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's super important.
Yeah, no, that's really good. You know, and that part of being courageous, acting courageously, you know, it also goes back to this, I think, the notion of community and trust.
Yes.
You know, it's, again, we don't act alone. We act, you know, with a community. And I think having a trusted community allows you to go out there and be courageous and be brave and so forth. And it takes that. And what's really remarkable, I think, at your age, is that it takes time, and it takes, I think, that instinct of building trust that sometimes takes people a while to do. How do you think you've got there in terms of that you're able to build community around yourself, not just for you, but for others? I think a lot of it is building it for others, which is, I think, the more important thing is when you're there trying to help others and support them and their support systems. How do you think, like, is that just innate in you, or how'd you sort of, you know, find your way to doing that important thing?
I truly believe that the aviation community specifically is one of the best communities out there. You know, everybody is passionate, and pilots love to talk about the adventures that they've been on. And there's so many different stories and backgrounds in aviation, and I feel like it's just a bunch of people coming together to create this safe space. Yeah. And I've been raised around the airport. Right. So I go to the airport and I hang out with people who I like to call my airport uncles. So they are just pilots that are my dad's friends that kind of have taken me in and mentored me throughout my whole journey. Yeah. And I feel that my journey I wouldn't be where I am today without that support system and without that strong community. And so knowing the importance of having a strong community has made me want to create a safe place and a community for other people.
That's great. That's great. So let's, we'll change course. So what's your favorite airplane?
Oh, that's hard. Well, my favorite plane or aircraft is the MDM-1 Fox. It's an aerobatic glider, and it is so amazing. I love flying it. It's pretty awesome.
So aerobatic glider.
Yes.
So tell me about that. I have to admit, until I met you, I had no idea there was such a thing as aerobatic gliding. So what's that like? I mean, what kind of maneuvers do you do?
Yes. So when you're flying aerobatics in a glider, it's kind of difficult because there is no engine, so you can't add power and enter a maneuver. You have to lower the nose, pick up a lot of speed, and then enter the maneuver. And while you're in the maneuver, you're not just pulling back on the stick for a loop. You have to conserve your energy and make sure that you're managing that energy well so that you can enter the next maneuver as soon as you exit the first maneuver. And it is just something so amazing, and it's quiet, but once you start speeding up, all you hear is the wind over the glider, and it's amazing. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of intuitive physics you're doing while you're doing these things, because you're right. I mean, you've got to manage that energy. It's not just about doing it quickly. It's about doing it so you can actually sustain the maneuver. So where'd you learn that?
There is a glider port in Arizona, and it's called Estrella Sailport. And they do a lot of glider aerobatics. And so at the end of March, I will actually be going out there for their Estrella Classic, and that's their aerobatic competition.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
So will it be your first time, or?
That will be my first aerobatic competition, and it will be in gliders.
Yeah.
But hopefully in the future, I can continue to do aerobatics in both airplanes and gliders.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. So what else is getting you excited about aviation? And are there other aspects that you're looking forward to as you look to your future?
Yes, general aviation is really where my heart is. You know, while I haven't had the true experience of flying commercially because I'm not a commercial pilot yet, I love general aviation. Like I talked about the community, and then aerobatics. You know, that's not really something you can do commercially, like taking up passengers or anything like that. It's just being there in the airplane. And
generally those commercial passengers don't want to be doing loops.
No, they don't want to do that. So it's just things like aerobatics, or simply renting the airplane, hopping in the airplane and flying to an airport that's not too far away for pancake breakfast.
Right, yeah. Oh,
you know, I love doing that. That's one of my favorite things to do.
$100 hamburgers.
Exactly. So just general aviation is really amazing because there's so many different aspects, and there's public benefit flying. So like what I do is I take kids flying for a discovery flight. I also do animal rescues with an organization called Amelia Air. So we take animals from areas where they probably wouldn't have a great chance at being adopted into a good home, and we take them to an area where they have a better chance.
Really?
And there's so many others. There's flying patients to hospitals where the patients don't pay. And so there's so many different opportunities in public benefit flying that are just amazing.
Yeah, you know, it's a really good topic and a great cause to because you know, people often think of aviation as a very separate thing, right? Because most people don't have that direct experience other than getting on an airplane and you know, flying for a trip or something like that. You know, so the more that we can do that shows that aviation has unique capabilities that can bring unique benefits to communities. And I think, you know, you've talked about several examples. In fact, in NASA Aeronautics, we're working on some of these things. You know, aviation is critical to wildfire management and so forth. As you know, a lot of really brave pilots get out there and fly airplanes to dump water and other things on the fire. And you know, there are things we can do to bring more technology, more modern aviation to those kinds of operations. You think about, like, as you're talking about, you know, medical care and so forth, bringing patients from place to place and, you know, to hospitals and so forth. You can think about if we had, you know, new types of aviation, which we're, you know, working on with a community like eVTOLs. I don't know if you've heard of eVTOLs, but electrically powered vertical takeoff and landing. Imagine if hospitals had a fleet of these where they could bring doctors, bring equipment, bring patients, and really expand the radius over which they work. So it's just an amazing thing to think about how we can, through technology, through passion, you know, and through capability, bring aviation, you know, more into the public space, more into public benefit. And I think folks like you can really, you know, lead the way, because it's, you know, it's some of it's about technology, but a lot of it's about just the human, you know, that human passion, the human condition, and really bringing everybody together in that. So I just applaud your you know, your vision there and your willingness to do those kinds of things. I have to say, when you were talking about, you know, bringing animals from place to place, I just had this vision of you flying in a general aviation airplane with like cats and dogs like crawling all over you.
Yes. I just did a mission with 24 dogs.
24 dogs?
Yes. So there were
in a general aviation airplane?
Yes. It was a larger airplane, but it was a twin, so it was bigger, and we removed all the seats except what we were sitting in, and we strapped all the crates in, and we were on our way. But it's not very pleasant. I mean, taking the animals place to place, just knowing that they will find stressed. A better home. They are stressed. You know, there's turbulence, so it sometimes smells like a barnyard, but it is just it's something that needs to be done.
That's what a great story. So anything that's on your mind that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I know that some of the people out there might want to know some advice from you. You know, you're high up in NASA and you have a lot of experience under your belt. So is there any advice that you would give pretty much anyone?
Yeah, we've talked, I think, about it, but I think about it in a couple of ways. First is just as you got to have some passion. You've got to have something that drives you forward, because as we talked about, you're going to run into failure. Things aren't going to go quite right. And so you always have to have that North Star, that thing that keeps pushing you to overcome those hurdles, overcome those setbacks and so forth. So that's certainly one. I think the other thing is that sense of resilience, that again, it's that ability to overcome, but to have that, you have to have, I believe you've got to have community. You've got to have folks that you can lean on in the hard times. And so make sure you have your, you've built up the friends or family or whatever it might be, but that community around you that sustains you. And then I always tell folks, you're on a journey, and always be looking for what that next opportunity is. That might not be the thing you're aiming at, but you find an opportunity, and for the most part, you gotta take that opportunity. You gotta explore that opportunity, because it might lead you, it might take you a little bit off, but you might find, that in fact was your true passion, or that is your next passion. So always be looking out for what those opportunities are and take them as they pop up. And I think, if you do all those things, and work hard, there's no substitute for working hard. So if you want to come to NASA, get a technical education. If you want to be a pilot, then you got to go through all the rigors of pilot training and getting the hours in and so forth. So there's always that. So that's sort of a baseline, but passion, resilience, looking and taking those opportunities as they come. I think those things will get you through, and will get you to where you want to go.
I love that. Thank you so much.
You're
That's
welcome.
good advice, definitely.
Thank you so much, Mia. And thank you all for tuning in to Imagine Aviation 2024 and IA Network News. We'll see you back here after the break for more exciting Imagine Aviation content.